Well, I can catch the best place to chill with your friends and get your gaming goodness every Monday. My name's Dylan Blight, and joining me on the couch this week, Ashley Hobley.
And bye. Yep, all good. Yeah, hi, excited to be here. You know, sorry, just buying stocks, as you do.
We have a discussion before the episode. We're not going to mention the buying bullshit with GameStop because none of us can talk about it in enough context to make any sense.
Yeah,
What? A bunch of Redditors decided that they were going to buy GameStop stock because hedge funds were buying GameStop stock when it dropped purposely so they could make it go back up.
They were doing normal Wall Street shit, yes.
Doing schemy stuff. And Redditors decided, no, we'll just buy all the stocks so the price doesn't go down.
The only thing I will say is the fact that the app called Robinhood is doing the most anti-Robinhood shit is fucking ironic as. Like, just...
Listen.
They need to change.
We all know
name.
the best Robinhood is Carrie Eels.
Wow. What a start. Also here, Ciaran Marchant.
Sorry, Dylan, I'll read it. Sorry, Dylan gave me a piece of paper to read off before the start of the show. It says, I will not play any copyrighted music or possible DMCA threats in my intro to avoid getting demonetized for our YouTube videos from this point forward.
I didn't really care, but I did find it hilarious how that 15 seconds or whatever of song did get caught by YouTube straight away from last week's episode. But it was a good joke. It was worth it. I say, not like we're making any, not like we're fucking money to make from it.
Not like we're making ad revenue.
Yeah, so it's like
YouTube, yeah.
It's just the, you know. Don't want your.
But if you want to help us make ad revenue on YouTube, you should go to youtube.com/Explosion Network.
Or you could just head to explosionnetwork.com/support, which takes you to our Ko-fi page where you can donate $1 if you like.
That would actually be more helpful.
Yeah,
that'd be way much better. Google won't get any hands on it. It'll be
Google's going to be banned from Australia soon anyway. So,
oh god, can you imagine? Australia will just go to shit.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
Yeah, like Scott Morrison comes out, says something. I wonder if that's right. I can't Google it. Okay, so I guess he's right.
No, but imagine having to...
No one will know how to fact check anything.
Hey, Bing.
I was going to say, imagine having to Bing... sorry, I can't even bring myself
I'm going to ask
it.
Jeeves.
Bing.
Even Siri Googles, right?
Yeah, I mean, I assume
she doesn't even use Safari, you know?
I don't know what the Siri's search engine is. She didn't hear me. Okay, it's fine. All right, so today, on this week's episode, we're talking about Tomb Raider Timeline is getting corrected or some shit. Some news about the James Bond game coming from IO Interactive. Borderlands movie is still happening, and there's some casting news, in case you forgot about that. And there's some rumors about the Knights of the Old Republic game, the one that everyone likes to say that they want to happen, but we'll get to that. Firstly, one review I posted in the past week, the first big Xbox game, Xbox Series X game, full stop. Actually, really, so the Medium is actually the first Xbox Series X only game.
Okay, before we get in the mood.
Okay, you got some copyright music for
It's a theme song to the Medium.
Okay, well, I gotta be honest. I probably wasn't gonna remember the theme song. It's not very memorable, you know.
Not really.
I remember Patricia Arquette. But if you haven't seen my review, my tagline was sometimes creepy but often boring and missing Patricia Arquette. So go for the shoot for the jugular right there. So in case you don't know, the Medium is the latest game from Bloober Team. It was supposed to be a launch Xbox Series X game, then it got delayed. It is a horror game, although I didn't find it very scary. It's a game apparently the team had been wanting to make for some time, but they couldn't because of technological power reasons and whatnot. And the big thing for this game is, so like it's sort of a throwback to old school Resident Evil 1-2 / Silent Hill 1-2, that era where it's a third person game where the cameras are fixed or I don't know what you call it when. Like somewhat fixed where you'll walk and sometimes it's like a security camera kind of moving across the room with you type thing. But for the most time, they're fixed cameras like those old school Resident Evil Silent Hill games. And basically, you play as this character called Marianne, who's a medium, in case you can tell by the title. And she gets a call from a mysterious ghosty type person who's like, "Can you come to this hotel and look into it because some shit's going down?" So then she heads there, and of course, there's some shit's going down there, some ghostly sort of stuff. The big gameplay thing for this game is that at times throughout the game, you'll just be walking around. You'll walk into a room or something. Marianne will have a little bit of a shock, she'll be like, "Oh, what's going on?" And then the screen will split and it'll look like you're suddenly playing a split screen multiplayer game. But in fact, what you're looking at is Marianne in the real world on one side and Marianne in the spirit realm on the other side. And the character moves in tandem on both sides. And for the most part, obviously the spirit world looks a lot more fucked up. It's, more gruesome and vines growing on shit and whatever else. All sorts of nasty stuff happening.
Was that always the plan? Because I thought it was going to be you just switch between
two.
So it's both. So that's how the game starts. As you get further into the game, you basically can use mirrors as warp points to blink yourself in and out of the spirit realm, which is used to So, for example,
I thought it wasn't going to be split screen. It was going to be the world just full screen. You just switch between the two.
That happens at some points too. So
okay,
it's a combination of all three options to some degree, but for the first couple hours of the game, it's mostly this split screen stuff. And it's mostly for like puzzle aspects. So like the first example of it early in the game, the one I mentioned in my review, you have to go up this elevator. You get in the elevator in the real world. When you reach the top of the elevator, the door won't open in the real world, but it's open in the spirit realm. So you're like, okay. Then you can do what the game literally just calls an outer body experience by holding B or something like that. And then the Marianne in the real world sort of like huddles down, and then you take full control of spirit realm Marianne, and she can leave the elevator, and then you can go find a way to do something in the spirit realm to help the real world. And often that's what the puzzles are. It's like find something in the spirit realm or interact with something that'll sort of help with the real world to get through puzzles or whatnot. Like when you get to the stage where you can just interact with mirrors to switch between the two realms, it's like, oh, in the real world, there's this ground's fallen off this bridge. How will I get across? And then you go to spirit world, and of course the bridge is there, and you can get across. And that's pretty much.
It sounds like a watered down version of that fantastic Titanfall 2 level. But without the cool wall running and
to a degree. The puzzles start out simple enough, and you're like, oh, yeah, this is kind of cool. Like, and the split screen thing at first is kind of cool. You're like, oh, this is different. Like, especially because sometimes you have cutscenes play out, and she there's actually a character you meet early in the game, this little girl called she calls herself Sadness. She's this little spirit ghost girl, and when you're seeing this cutscene in the split screen realm, obviously in the spirit world, you've got Marianne like interacting and talking to this girl, and then you're seeing like you watch the real world where she's just like waving her hands and like talking to no one and all this sort of stuff, and like touching this bowl like falls across the ground in the real world that the spirit girl is like thrown, and like there's there's some cool stuff like that. My biggest problem was that like so for the first hour, I was like, yeah, like the puzzles, hopefully they'll build in interest and difficulty and whatever, but then they never do. Like, I think the biggest testament to this is the game's most interesting, or one of the game's two most interesting puzzles, is like right near the end of the game, and it involves this dollhouse. But I feel like that puzzle should have been like the end of like towards the end of the first act of the game, and then they should have like switched to a different sort of puzzle mechanic. Like it's 8 hours long roughly, and the puzzles never really change their. They never really get harder. You never really have to do anything different. You're sort of just floating along. And the game makes you do lots of really tedious shit, like the sort of shit that I don't really find fun in games in general, which is like, for example, you have to find these like plier things. And then for some reason, every time you have to open a gate with them, you have to like press the buttons on the controller like 4 or 5 times, like, oh, I'm snipping the gate shut. I'm like, can you just like everything in this game seems to be built to extend, like stretch a game that should have been 4 hours, maybe into 8 hours, including 2 sequences that I won't spoil. And I mentioned in my review as flashbacks, and I will say more than that, which are my 2 least favorite parts of the game that make up at least 2 to 3 hours of the game. And both of those, I was like, wow, these are just boring, and I don't know why these are in this game. These feel completely unnecessary. So there are my bad points, which is mostly the game's pacing and puzzles get kind of boring or whatever. The good things are the world is cool, like the general creepy world that they create in the game is cool. Graphically, the environments and everything are quite good to look at. You know, it's got ray tracing and all that sort of stuff. I didn't find the character models. I found the character models to be the big letdown. Like the environments are all very pretty and detailed and all this sort of stuff. But then anytime the camera would go close to the camera, to one of the character models, I'm like, okay, well the character model's kind of letting down everything else happening in this screen right now. But that's a bit off. So there's one main villain in the game called the Maw, which is like this. I really don't know how to explain it. It's a monster from the spirit realm. It's like I don't know. It's a big monster. And the coolest thing about this monster is it's actually voiced by Troy Baker, who apparently did all the mocap for it on like stilts and shit like that. And you would not tell it's Troy Baker at all. Like it is a very creepy sounding voice.
He's done a couple of those lately. Like I didn't realize that Troy Baker's in the, I wanted to say The Witness. It's not The Witness, it's The Pathless. Troy Baker and Laura Bailey.
He's the bad guy, and Laura Bailey's the good guy. Yeah. Yeah, which is like, holy fuck, they're like, these are roles where they're not kind of like they're going beyond their normal ranges and kind of doing work that's a bit different, which is
almost like they flipped from last year.
Well, yeah, I guess, yeah. I would say, yeah, I mean, if you want to play this game, I'd say, and you're a Troy Baker fan, I'd say look up what he sounds like in this game because it's very creepy. There's like several lines where the monster will be chasing you and you'll hear him behind you just say like creepy shit like, I want to wear your skin over myself and like see what it feels to live inside you, and like all this like really fucked up creepy shit. The monster in general, so the game doesn't really go for cheap jump scares, which is good, I suppose, for like a horror game. But at the same time, it felt like it could have used a few jump scares because most of the time the game's just sort of on that thing of being like creepy, but you never have an actual scare. And like it's like building tension or like creepy atmosphere, but there's no actual like real scary moment.
So you got like the equivalent of like horror blue balls, where you just got all the build up but none of the payoff.
Pretty much, yeah. And the monster. All of the scenes with the monster and Troy Baker's character are very like throwbacky as well. It's very much like monster creeping around in room. You simply have to creep along, make sure he doesn't see you, that type of thing. It's not particularly hard. Like the most interesting thing is just hearing Troy Baker say these really weird and creepy things, which did make it quite enjoyable. There's definitely a lot of potential here, and I just feel like the game didn't quite get there. In fact, there's one sequence about 3/4 of the way through the game where you're running away from the monster, and it's very cinematic because as you're running, the game is like flicking you in and out of the realms. And so when you're in the real realm, the monster can still chase you, but it's like invisible. But whereas you're in the spirit realm, you can obviously see the monster and everything's more fucked up or whatever. And there's this one sequence where you're running away from and like everything's flicking and changing and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, that's actually quite tense and scary just to hear it behind you and everything's like changing around you and all fucked up. I'm like, the game should have had more of this. I don't know. Like it seems like a mishmash of a lot of ideas, and some of them are cool. Some of them should have been left on the chopping board table. I guess that's what happens when you have an idea for a game that you've been kicking around for so long. And apparently there was an article that went out during the week. I think it was on Kotaku or somewhere where they said apparently it was they were originally going to try and make it for Wii U or something. I'm like, okay.
Right.
Yeah, okay, so that's how long that's been. So I ended up giving it a 5.5. So not the big launch game or big exclusive that Xbox really needed. But at the same time, I'll say, like, obviously I thought it was okay with issues, obviously with a 5.5, like nearly okay. It's on Game Pass. That's the one big, like, if you do want to give it a go, and I'm kind of saying it's not that great, at least if you've got Game Pass, you don't have to spend money on it, I guess. But at the same time, I've seen lots of the scores are all over the place. I know I'm low. There's a few other reviews that are quite low with me, and at the same time I've seen people giving it 9s and shit, so I'm like, I fucking don't know. Maybe it just speaks to more people than others, but
or maybe people just giving it a free pass because it's on Game Pass.
Well, yeah, I did.
Or they feel bad for Xbox.
I did subtweet a little bit about that the other day because I saw a few tweets of people being like, like it's on Game Pass, like maybe you should just learn to enjoy games instead of being so critical about them and all this sort of stuff. And I was like, that's not how it works. Like, it doesn't matter if it's on Game Pass.
Yeah, on OpenCritic, it's currently sitting at a 75.
Yeah, there you go.
With 61% of critics recommend.
Yeah. See, it's so weird when those numbers don't really match up. Like, they're like, oh, critics recommend, like, you'd think it would be closer to, I don't know. All right, let's get into some news, and let's start with the most serious topic that happened during the week. One that I was like, wow, really, that's... So my little funny, not so funny side tangent for this is that we recorded Platinum Explosion on whatever day, Tuesday it was. Monday, and going over PS5 games we're excited about, and I mentioned Season. I'm like, oh my God, I'm already watching a trailer for it in the podcast. I'm like, fuck, this game looks so good. Go to sleep, wake up next morning, story about Season Studio, like being run by people who are potentially abusing the staff, toxic workplace, all this stuff. I'm like, God damn it, why'd I say I like this game?
You're part of the problem, Dylan.
Yeah, I don't know. So if you haven't seen this, IGN writes, Season developer indefinitely suspends co-founder, CEO temporarily steps down after toxic workplace harassment allegations. Scavenger Studio, the developer of Darwin Project and the upcoming seasons, has issued an official statement regarding the toxic workplace allegations levied against the studio's co-founders Simon Davier and Emilie Lamarche. Lamarche, who was Scavenger Studios CEO, said in a statement that the company, quote, wishes to apologize for the harm caused and has taken these allegations seriously. Additionally, it is committed to doing better for its employees and fans and partners. So basically, if you the accusations are all over the place. It was the original post came from GameIndustry.biz. It was quite lengthy and long, but according to the thing, quote from IGN's article here, several current employees mentioned that Davier had used the partnership with Sony to force his own ideas onto the game, saying that he'd promised a number of features to steal the deal, such as a large world, quests, and objective markers that either weren't planned or had already been scrapped by the team. Now they said the studio is on the hook for them. So I found that part funny, that the reason that, if that's true, that they're like someone... Davier in a head position of studios literally saying, oh, we'll do this, this, and this to get Sony to go, oh yeah, fuck yeah, we're on board. We'll feature your game in our state of play. And then goes back to the studio and it's like, okay, we're going to do all these things now because I told Sony we're doing them. And then the rest of the team's like, what?
What the fuck?
Like, didn't even do that. Continuing. Chief among them is claims of a alleged hostile workplace created by Davier and Lamarche in the sense of a boys' club atmosphere, of allegations that women at the studio have been frequently degraded by male employees, including Davier, or infantilized and treated as if they did not know what they were talking about, and even when speaking from a position of expertise about their own work. Additionally, the report lays out reported concerns from current and former employees about Davier's mistreatment and bullying of employees, say for a group of commandos that were Davier's favorites. Allegations of Davier groping multiple employees and the implications of Lamarche essentially serving in a HR role to other employees despite having previously been in a remote relationship with Davier. So in the GameIndustry.biz report, they lay out several allegations of Davier, so running around, groping women, slapping them on the ass, this, all that sort of stuff that you hate to hear about. And to make the matters worse, sorry, I just forgot her fucking name. Emilia Lamarche, who is the CEO there, was basically, as they say, it was basically the HR person as well as that role, and was an ex of Davier. So when people make complaints, she was like, no, didn't happen. Like, she was, for whatever reason, helping or unwilling to take the accusations and stuff seriously. So all sounds pretty fucked up. So what's happened now is, so Simon Davier is indefinitely suspended from all responsibilities within the company and from the board of directors. An external auditing firm will conduct an independent workplace assessment and an audit of all culture and practices. Daisy Lily Best, currently Director of Operations, is appointed as a Chief Operating Officer and will be reporting directly to the Board of Directors for the duration of the audit to ensure complete transparency and accountability. The audit report will be shared in its entirety with the team represented to Daisy to the Board for further actions to be taken. Furthermore, to ensure a transparent and fair and unbiased process, LaMarche will be stepping down as her role as CEO for the duration of the audit. She will, however, remain available to support the studio's normal course of business. So I feel like it's pretty cut and dry for myself. I feel like after reading the long, lengthy GameIndustry.biz report, and then when I looked on Twitter after that, I found several people who were like, yeah, I used to work there, 100% true. This is exactly what's happened. This is fucked up. And I was like, okay, well, so both of these people should lose their positions. They should not be working there anymore. They should be chucked out. Obviously, they're both in the leadership positions of the studio, including being on the board, which makes it very fucking confusing and messy, but gotta do what you gotta do. I have a point that made a semi-joke when I tweeted about this during the week, was that Davier actually is an ex-Ubisoft employee, so it's hard not to go, okay, cool. So like, dude comes from Ubisoft.
That's right.
Dudes come from Ubisoft who's literally, who we found out in the last year, Ubisoft has been quite good at like keeping their secrets and sort of fostering these environments of abuse and toxicity workplaces. And then he thinks that's perfectly okay because of what he went through at Ubisoft. And he comes over here, starts another small studio, and the behavior just continues. So like it really is just a ripple effect to me. And as much as we can be like, yeah, Ubisoft is apparently getting their shit together, that's great to see. And every time we see a studio, it's like, okay, well, that's one thing. But stories like this make you go, well, it's a lot longer, like the ripple effects of the long-term effects of things like Ubisoft and potentially other big companies keeping these things wrapped up and not treating them appropriately. Like they're not just as simple, like case shut, move on as we'd all like to see. And I definitely feel like there's going to be more people like me who were really excited for this game and now are a bit like, But for me to get more back to being excited about the game, it would be as simple as, okay, well, from all accounts, there's two people there that are the problem. Fuck them off. Obviously, all the developers.
Is there?
Well, at least two that we can. Well, you can say that one of them's in the right.
These commandos that.
Yeah, well, whoever the fuck they are. Yeah, okay. So there's at least two that we know of. So it's like clean up shop. We know that from the report that there's a lot of the team doesn't like what's going on for obvious reasons. We know that people left the team because of what was going on. So it's like, but the heart and soul of the game is obviously lies with the developers for the most part, not with CEO who, running the shop, not making the creative decisions or these sorts of things. I don't know. It's just another. I know we're going to go. This won't be the only one of these this year, but I definitely want to continue covering them because as much as it would be very easy for me to read these stories and go, yeah, that's fucked up. Like, there's another one. I feel like if I stop talking about them, or if people in general stop talking about them, that's when
then they stop talking about them.
Yeah, like people.
Then people stop coming forward about.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yes. Yes. So, does anyone have any thoughts or?
I mean, you covered it really well. I think
you nailed everything.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So we'll see what happens in the next following weeks, following months.
Although, again, should be fired.
Should be fired.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously.
Not indefinite suspension.
No. Yeah, I think that's just. I mean, to compare,
it's probably legally covering.
Yeah, I think I was about to say to compare it to AEW situation with what the fuck was his name, Ciaran?
Havoc.
With Havoc, Jimmy. Yeah, last year where they had to like I think legally say that he was going to because he got accused of a bunch of like sexual.
Wasn't that because he threatened to commit suicide or something? That's why.
Yeah, he did something. So they supported him through his rehab, and then the moment he was done with his rehab, they were like, "See ya."
Yeah, I think that was like one of those things where like, oh, he's getting help, but then they like chucked him out as soon as they legally could without having to. Yeah. So see what happens. Obviously, they say they're doing an external audit, not an internal audit. Thank fucking God.
There's always a process that needs to be followed. Like you can't just sadly in just the way business is nowadays is that you have to go through and follow the right processes and do your due diligence as a workplace to make sure everything's covered.
I mean, at this point, there should be companies that are up to do this on the regular. Unfortunately,
definitely.
Yeah, the external audit should find out everything and should prove everything, and then hopefully the board would make all the right decisions to fix everything. Yeah. So we'll see. All right, that's out of the way. Let's move on to Tomb Raider. So the Polygon writes that Lara Croft's 2 timelines will be unified, apparently. So Crystal Dynamics has plans to unify Lara Croft's 2 canonical timelines as the Tomb Raider franchise observes its 25th anniversary, the studio said in a Twitter video Wednesday afternoon. Official celebrations of Tomb Raider's silver anniversary. Did you know that was called just silver anniversary, Ash? I know you love anniversaries, so I just wanted to make sure that you was aware that.
I think I did know that.
Okay, I just want to keep you up because I know you're really into anniversaries at the moment. You like to, which ones matter and which ones don't, because apparently that's up to you and no fucking else. We'll start February 1st, said Megan Marie, Crystal Dynamics community manager. Marie also pointed to the Tomb Raider Netflix animated series, which was also announced Wednesday, which also threads into the official unified timeline. The Tomb Raider anime is set after the events of the video game reboot trilogy, which comprises 2013's Tomb Raider, 2015's Rise of Tomb Raider, and 2018's Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Down the road, said franchise director Will Kerslake, said, quote, we envision a future of Tomb Raider unfolding after these established adventures, referring to both the core design developed games, 1996's Tomb Raider through 2003's Tomb Raider The Angel of Darkness, that classic, and the series in the hands of Crystal Dynamics since 2006's Tomb Raider Legend. Although Crystal Dynamics has no major game announcement to make in the near future, this studio is working to unify these timelines. So honestly, I don't know what the fuck any of this means. And if anyone here can explain to me how the fuck... Do you remember back in the day when things were simple? They were like, we rebooted Tomb Raider. And everyone was like, yeah, got that. Understood.
So what they're trying to do now is unify the 2 timelines so that these 3...
prequels?
The three quote-unquote prequels lead into Tomb Raider 1 and so on.
Let me help them. You can't. It doesn't make sense.
Don't.
It doesn't
work.
Just
don't. There's no need to. Because that timeline is batshit crazy. Like, ending with Angel of Darkness, and then, you know what's the sad thing? The best Tomb Raiders were the 2 or 3 that came after Angel of Darkness. Because there was Tomb Raider Legend.
Yeah, which is a remake of the first one.
No, Legend wasn't the remake of the first one.
Yeah, wasn't it?
No,
there was a remake, though.
There was like...
Was that called Anniversary?
There was one where the storyline was all about her mother after they had died in a plane crash and everything had happened afterwards. Like, it was a whole separate storyline, and there was 2 or 3 games that followed. It was a trilogy, and it was fantastic.
Oh,
it was
the
really
PS3
good.
Ones?
Yeah, the PS3, Xbox 360 ones.
There was like the Atlantis one, basically, or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
One was definitely Atlantis. Like, those 3 were fantastic. Like, those 3 were really good. And I think they are excluded from these timeline talks because we're only going up to Angel of Darkness in this.
Yeah.
Look, it's very weird. I don't understand how they can connect the prequels with all of a sudden she's in a tomb with dinosaurs.
I mean, to be fair,
easy. She shows up in a tomb with dinosaurs.
Yeah, I mean, they have been slightly. Even the original Tomb Raider reboot, the end of that whole game was very serious, and then at the end it got all mystical. Yeah. So they've always been, and like Shadow. Oh no, Rise of Tomb Raider gets a little bit weirder. I still haven't played Shadow, even though I've got it.
I haven't
now,
touched Shadow,
but I'll get to it this year. I presume. I'm taking my time. Maybe this is
Shadow was a PS Plus game at some point, right?
Yeah, after I brought it last year.
Yeah,
like
a few months.
I brought it for like
$15.
So I'm like,
yeah, it wasn't expensive. Yep.
Whatever. But I don't know what this means. How do we feel about the animated series taking place after the current trilogy and all that sort of stuff? Netflix.
Look, right now, what isn't getting an anime series on Netflix,
Nothing,
right?
yeah.
Like, it just seems like fucking Resident Evil, Witcher, Tomb Raider, Fast and Furious, like, just fucking everything. Just, next minute we're gonna have like a Super Mario.
I think we are. I think that's a thing.
Like,
I look forward to Crisis of the Tomb Raider, which merges all the timelines together.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Crisis on Infinite Laras.
Yeah.
Triangle boob.
I like to be on Infinite Laras. Yeah.
Imagine that, like the anime series just does that storyline, and in comes Triangle Boob Lara.
Triangle boob Lara comes in. She's so confused about the other ones that are all stood
They
there.
all point at each other. Yeah.
With they're all appropriate enemies. It's like, oh, okay.
I'm a monster. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting. Obviously. The one thing is, I don't like Netflix overuse of the word anime.
Yeah, none of it's anime.
Yeah,
none of it is anime.
I know it's very you could call all animation anime, but it's like the same thing with champagne. If it's not made in France, it's not champagne.
It's the one thing you have to like blame Legend of the Last Airbender for, Legend of Aang.
Yeah,
but did Nickelodeon claim that as anime?
No, but it's an honorary anime. Everybody thinks it's anime, but it's not.
Yeah.
But people just class it as
made
anime
in Korea, even though it's written by an American team.
Yes.
Exactly. I think I know side tangent about anime at this stage, but so I remember when that came out, and I used to get annoyed because I used to go into my local DVD store at the time, which doesn't exist anymore. It was like a weird one. Anyway, there was the only place that sold anime, and I had a little anime section. I used to find these fucking Legend of the Airbender DVDs in there, and because I never watched it, I used to be like, you fucking motherfucker, like, fucking get this shit out of my pure anime bliss.
Can I solve one thing though? You've watched Last Airbender?
No, I've watched Last Airbender.
Oh my god, Dylan.
Look, I'm only into
Look forward to Last Airbender rewatch.
I'm only
here
into
on these
I feel like I need to do like an anime book club.
But it's not
Dylan.
anime.
My god.
But so I think the thing collectively the world agreed upon at some stage because of that show was they were like, okay, so anime is no longer Japanese animation. We're now saying it's anything Asian.
That's serious.
Well, I was gonna say, I think the thing got stretched. Okay, is it made anywhere in Asia? Okay, it's an anime. But then after that,
I don't think it's even that anymore.
Yeah, it's not even that anymore. That's why I feel. But I feel like because it was made in Korea or whatever. I feel like that's when people fucking stretched it, and they're like, okay, anything that's made in Asia is now considered anime.
Words don't mean anything anymore. The minute they changed the meaning of literally to be both.
Look, I literally mean
literally and not literally.
I literally mean that I'm literally being very serious right now, and So yeah, but nowadays they're like, all these Netflix shows are like, this is anime, this is anime, this is anime. Anime is no longer a description of a cartoon that comes from a certain place. It's a style and a look, which yeah, I mean,
which even then it's like Beastars is like a different style, and that's still classed as anime. And then there's a whole bunch of
Anyway,
are we on What Do You Want to Watch, or are we on Arcade Couch?
We're on B+ anime. I don't.
Only B+. Yeah.
Are you sure it's B+? I think it's C-, right?
On that tangent, can we also talk about they just announced a new director for the next Tomb Raider movie? They got Misha Cross from Lovecraft Country to come in and direct the next.
Yeah, I didn't have it
kind of version,
but
I thought it was relevant just to bring up, seeing as we're touching on all the Tomb Raider stuff.
I like it, obviously. So originally it was supposed to be Ben Wheatley, which
Do you know what he's doing instead?
Is it the Meg 2? Yeah. So I had to test my knowledge there. Yeah, so I'm keen to see what that looks like. So side tangent on that is him doing Meg 2 means that it'll be more what I wanted from the Meg, which means it'll actually be violent. So I'm kind of down for that. And by the way, because I rewatched that movie a couple weeks ago randomly, and I was Googling it to find out why the fuck that movie even exists. It's based on a book series, and there's like 8 fucking books. So I'm like, okay, I guess they're not just pulling a sequel out of their ass as source material. Anyway, Tomb Raider. Cool. It's exciting. I think that's a good pick for the director. I think Tomb Raider's always been directed by fucking dudes. So to have a woman come in and direct it is is good. I mean,
Now,
it's a fucking female.
Correct me, because I never watched the most recent Tomb Raider movie. Is this new Tomb Raider movie following on in that line?
Yeah, so it'll be a sequel.
Yes, it's a sequel.
Let me put it this way. If no one watched the Tomb Raider movie, it's the best Tomb Raider movie in my opinion. It's like a solid 6 or something like that, which in the term of video game movies is pretty okay. Alicia Vikander is great as Lara in the movie. The first half of it is pretty good, pretty great. In fact, there's one action sequence they literally just rip straight from the reboot of Tomb Raider, where if you remember the part where she goes into the plane and it falls down the waterfall and all that sort of stuff, they do that in the movie, literally exactly how it's done in the fucking game, and it's pretty epic. The movie just goes to shit the second it's like, here's our big villain who wants to rule the world, and I'm like, whatever. But for the most part, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So. There you go, Ciaran. Skip some anime for a day. Check out the.
I'm good, thanks. I found more anime to watch recently, so
Yeah, turned on ABC because all that's anime now. Yeah.
Is it really?
Anything that's cartoons is anime. I think I don't know.
I can't.
It's
remember.
Bluey. Is Bluey anime?
Yeah, fuck it. It's Australian anime.
God, Bluey.
Yeah,
it's Aussie anime. Yeah, there you go. Smashing it.
Let's get it on the top of those lists.
Yeah, everyone get Australia's #1 anime trending.
I don't think anime could be Australian because you can't abbreviate something that's already been like abbreviated.
Triple A, bro.
No, it's just Annie here in Australia.
It's fucking Australian anime as. Can't.
Yeah.
All right, next news story. Kotaku writes Xbox Game Pass now has 18 million subscribers. Xbox Game Pass now has 80 million subscribers, up 20% from fall. Microsoft announced during a call with investors today. It also said it has sold more Xbox Series XSs than during its first month than any other console launch. The company still won't release specific numbers though, and that's the story.
That's impressive considering we've never, like in previous console launches, we've never seen such stock kind of like limited stock where I felt this is the most limited stock's ever been for a console yet. They've sold more consoles than ever before.
Yeah, it makes it confusing, and I wouldn't be surprised if wouldn't be surprised if PlayStation now comes out and they're like, we've sold more than ever before in our first time as well. Like I expecting that one of those counter things.
Did you?
I was gonna say I just brought up the news story basically to bring up the Game Pass facts and to just to show Ash more or less.
Just because Ash is going to spend part of this time again. So, listeners, if you don't want to waste probably 2-3 minutes of your time, skip ahead when Ashley starts speaking. But this is where Ashley starts going, is it really going to be sustainable, though? Really? Is it really any good?
I mean, it doesn't say current subscribers.
Fuck yeah.
It says it has 18 million subscribers. They're not subscribers. They're not current subscribers if they're not subscribers. Like, the number would be current. How can it the sentence wouldn't make sense. The subscribers means current. Like, as a word, subscribers means you're currently fucking subscribed. Yeah. It's like saying I have 18 million doors open and you're like, yeah, but are they all open? And I'm like,
also,
yes.
Man, I wouldn't mind like selling a subscription for 1 month for like $5-10 to 18 million people. So for me personally, that'd be pretty good.
So my quick maths as an average of Game Pass prices is that they're racking in about 270 million a month if that's the current price. So
not sustainable.
Not sustainable at all.
Not sustainable whatsoever.
Don't know.
Not when they keep buying shit.
That's how they're buying shit.
Making money, and their tax person's like, guys, we need to get rid of some of this money, or taxes are going to be even worse.
No, it's just growing too quick.
All right, that was our Game Pass check-in for this week's episode. Polygon writes, Magic the Gathering's take on Diablo will be playable in March. Magic Legends is an upcoming free-to-play action RPG, and the game's PC open beta begins on March 23rd. Developer Cryptic Studio shared a new video that shows off the game's deck-building element, which is inspired by the source material of Magic the Gathering. While Magic Legends is in the same genre as Diablo titles, Magic the Gathering is best known as a competitive card game where players build decks and battle opponents. That element is carrying forward into Legends, and the game draws on the lore of the card game. Each deck is made up of 12 spells, with 4 available at a time. New spells cycle in randomly as the player uses the tools at their disposal, creating a system where players can determine what specializers and tactics they want to pursue while still having elements outside of their control in moment-to-moment gameplay. Players familiar with Magic the Gathering will recognize the 5 schools of Magic: white, red, blue, black, green, blah, 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 blah. I know they announced this last year, and I was like, that sounds cool. I look forward to finding out more of that. I am quite surprised that we're already having an open beta date with a video sort of showing off gameplay. It kind of seemingly came out of nowhere. I forgot about it. And I gotta be honest, as you know, as someone who, you know, was a Magic fucking diehard for several years there, where it was, you know, a big part of my life, pretty fucking excited to give this game a go. Look at it. Pretty cool.
I'm excited in terms of, I think Magic has some of the coolest lore and just going. Like, I think it's really deep and rich lore for it. I kind of wish they didn't feel the need to force cards into this game though. Like, I get it, Magic is all about cards that even the Planeswalkers use them, but it just annoys me a little bit where I'm like, just simplify it yourselves. Don't feel like you need to recreate the wheel or some shit. Just
I feel like they need to distinguish themselves.
I was about to say, it's
making themselves a little bit more unique. Otherwise, it is just a Diablo clone.
Yeah. Like if you watch the video, it's like if you're looking at the video and you take out the card stuff and just replace it with like 4 like square, triangle, circle, X, and your 4 hotkeys for 4 abilities that you can set, then it literally just, you're like, okay, it looks like any other action rogue like type, you know, Diablo looter type thing. And the cards, I agree to a point with Ciaran saying, like, if I read it on paper, I'm like, you have to force the card stuff in there. But watching the video and seeing how it kind of plays out, it's not like a big card comes up on the screen, you know, like it's sort of just
card comes down every time you throw an attack.
Yeah, like it's no different than like some of those Kingdom Hearts games and other games where, like, the Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, for example, they were like, well, this is a card game, but it wasn't really. Like, it was an action game where every time you took a swing with your action button, it changed the card that you're playing. So you never felt like you was actually playing a card game. And if this is what that's like, where it's like, okay, you set your deck before you head out, and then when you're actually in the action, you don't have to really worry about what cards are coming. Like, it's just more you're in the action, and cool, I'm all about it. And it's also exciting from a point because I know Wizard of the Coast has a lot of these Magic things in the works now, which I think is exciting because for a long time it just very much felt like they were sort of wasting an IP that has so much potential, as to what Ciaran was saying. Like, Magic has such a deep and interesting lore with so many cool characters and places and locations and stuff. And for a long time it's like, okay, I understand card games front and center here, but like the fact they haven't tried to make a game like this before, or like got one out sooner, or tried to go back to the well and get that movie or stuff happening. And I know all these pieces are swinging now, which is exciting, but it's like, come on, people who don't want to play the card game have been missing out on a great IP with lots of cool things here. So I'm keen. Anyone else going to jump in on March 23rd to give the open beta a try then?
Yeah, sure. No, nothing not to do. So yeah, I'd be interested to jump in and see if I can see my main boy Jace anywhere in there. That'd be pretty cool. Jace is a cool guy.
Anyway, I don't know what you do if you play as Jace. You just cast spells that make your opponents draw cards until they. I don't know how you mill. Exactly. I don't know how you mill someone out in a.
Look, if mill isn't a mechanic in this game, I'm gonna be pissed.
You just keep going till they're out of spells, and then
maybe
you just tire them out, and then it's like the old rope-a-dope.
Personally, I'm hoping Tezzeret's in it and I can build an infinity deck where I can just beat the game in one move. So that's there's my magic joke for everyone playing at home. All right, next news story. Hitman Studios Project 007 will feature a new James Bond, writes Kotaku. When Hitman developer IO Interactive's James Bond game, working title Project 007, hit the scene, hits the scene, it'll do so with an entirely new James Bond. Studio head Hakan Abrak told the Danish Broadcasting Corporation. There you go. Project 007 will follow James Bond in his early days as a British Secret Service agent, portraying the events that led him earning the iconic 007 codename. This wholly original origin story sets the game apart from Bond's most infamous portrayals on the silver screen, wherein he's already an established MI6 operative. So the development of a new leading man makes sense, especially when you factor in the franchise's already tenuous relationship with continuity. So I think this is great. This is exactly what I wanted to hear about this game, because I know when there was announced, there was a lot of like, oh, will it have Daniel Craig? Will it be someone else? All this sort of stuff. This answers a lot of the big questions I had, which means that IO Interactive has got permission, it seems, to go have the James Bond license, have the 007 license. You're doing your own world. You're doing your own James Bond. You're doing it's nothing connected.
Dive into
fucking go
the books
crazy
and stuff.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. I think that's worked really well in the past, especially with aka with Spider-Man doing it for itself, or with the Telltale Batman games, or everything else that they like. Whenever you take an IP but you make it your own and you go off more kind of source materials instead of the TV shows, you go for the books. That's a fantastic way, or the movies, so to speak. You can go to the books. I think that's a really interesting way to build it and really good.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see if they go with like a big name actor, or they're going to get a voice actor. Who they're going to get to play James Bond?
Nolan North. No, I don't think
At
so.
least somebody British.
I think they shouldn't. I don't think they're gonna like the character model itself. I don't think that should be a unique character model. Like it shouldn't be based on anybody. I don't think. Like maybe they like find like a face app and they merge all of the James Bonds together and they get the perfect James Bond.
No, they just cast a new person to voice and play the vocab.
Yeah.
For the thing, because presumably, so I haven't finished Hitman 3, by the way, which is relevant for this. Presumably, Hitman 3 is, as I've said, like the end of their trilogy, and they're done with Hitman for now, for some time at least. And James Bond will be the start of a new trilogy, so they can tell a whole brand new story, and they can have someone play James Bond throughout their 3 games, and they can tell a 3-act story if they want to do an entire trilogy, as presuming it sells well, which I will presume, given that Hitman sold very well, and they have IO now has good track record, good credence with gamers, and 007 for most people still holds as a name or interest memories, and fond memories and that sort of stuff. I will presume that the first game will sell quite well, and then it's just up to them to deliver the goods. And if the game is good, then people that's it. Like as long as this first game is at least good, then they've set for the next 2. I feel kind of like the first one. So that's cool. All right, so talking about things starting, let's talk about something ending. PC Gamer writes, Ninja Theory's 4v4 hero brawler Bleeding Edge will get no longer content updates. Bleeding Edge released in March last year to mostly ambivalent reviews at launch. Their reviewer wrote that its characters are cool, but the combat is too shallow to hold attention for long. Despite a handful of content updates between then and now, including a cool dolphin-powered mech, the game hasn't managed to reach the kind of audience required for a successful live service game. And that was confirmed today with the announcement that active development will cease on Bleeding Edge. The game will still be playable. It's available on Xbox Game Pass for PC still, and Xbox consoles, of course, and you can buy it, but don't expect new characters and maps going forward. Quote from the tweet: with the studio now focusing on new projects, Senua's Saga, Project Mara, and the Insight project, we've decided that there will be no further content updates for Bleeding Edge. The game is still playable. Blah 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 blah. Pour one out for our homie.
Man, I think Battleborn and Paladins lasted longer than this. That's sad. Like, and do you guys?
I mean, it's still live. Like, it's
still live, but
I think it outlived Lawbreakers, right?
Yeah, Lawbreakers was up for like 12 hours, I think. So that's what it felt like.
Do you think this is the end of multiplayer games for Ninja Theory, or do they just move on to something else, or do they put all their focus into Hellblade and games like that?
It depends on the idea.
Yeah.
For all we know, Mara or Insight could be a multiplayer game.
That's exactly. I mean, so the thing of this game was, this was for all we know, this could have been in early development when they were making Hellblade. We know it was in development when Xbox brought them. So that was the thing of this game. Like, I know people kept making jokes like when this came out, like, oh, they brought Ninja Theory and now they've got to release this stupid fighting game. And people didn't realize that they were already making it when they brought them. Like, it came with them. It wasn't.
What's up with like this being like the thing was Microsoft's like, wait, we'll buy Ninja Theory. They're going to do great work, and at the same time, we could just put out an extra game onto Game Pass. Fuck yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Why is there?
That might
I don't
succeed.
see that might succeed. Like, I don't see no downside to that. Like, wait, we're buying a studio that already has a game for us to put out. Yeah. Fuck yeah, poggers.
Yeah.
Like,
such a terrible decision.
Yeah.
I would say also, this is not a case where, like, you're talking about Battleborn and these other games where a lot of the failure for those games you can sort of put on them being too similar to other things and like being a bit copycatty or whatever. See, I still think the fault here isn't down to gameplay or anything. I think it's just down to a combination of
market share.
Yeah, like what's popular at the time. Because as much as you could be like, it was trying to be like other things, it wasn't really. Like, I understand you could be like, oh, but it was trying to be like an arena battle. I'm like, yeah, but there's lots of those, and like you can have all of these fucking battle royales succeed.
A gazillion first-person shooters.
Yeah, there's a gazillion first-person shooters. Like, as long as you do something different.
If you look at it in a way of, it was trying to be as different from the big dog in the yard Overwatch. Like, it was trying to differentiate itself enough where it was trying to not have the same game modes as Overwatch and just be more arena-based.
Which I feel it was.
Have melee-based content. Yeah. It definitely was. Like, it definitely was different. Like, it was just the fact of, it was probably in a time where maybe people were a little bit over hero shooters or hero kind of games like that, or there was enough market share between Overwatch, Apex Legends, Fortnite, like there's Rainbow Six Siege. Like, you're getting into a medium where if your characters don't... for me, I think it's actually the super important thing is your characters need to hit with people and leave an impression. It's just a way, and I don't think even I can vaguely remember some of the characters from that game, but none of them left an impression of me. Whereas you play Overwatch, you know Tracer, you know Reinhardt. If you play Apex Legends, you know fucking Caustic and you know Mirage and stuff like that.
Surprised you know so many.
I know. I know them by looking at them. I just can't remember them.
Well, that's the thing. Like, Bleeding Edge characters definitely looked cool, but they never hit the. You never got like attached that they didn't have like story content really to get you invested in the characters. They had very cool designs. They had personality in the matches, but they didn't really have that world building and story element that things like Overwatch and Apex have that people get attached to. Is the major hang up. Yeah, and I definitely feel like the gameplay was actually pretty good. And it's like in another world, the game may have been a lot bigger success than what it was. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's interesting timing. This coming out the week before Destruction All Stars, a very similar game that is first party.
Hey,
going to exclusive to one console is about to launch.
You calling them similar? Not really.
A little bit.
They're not really.
Kind of do a slight riff on the arena shooter.
I'd agree with Ash on this one, which I don't like doing on this. But
Destruction All-Stars is literally a rip on Destruction Derby. Like,
but it's still the same kind of... If you ripped it down to bare bones, the two games would line up and be very similar.
I don't think
Again,
so.
also the being exclusive to one platform, which cuts the player base down a fair bit.
Even PlayStation cuts it down again because at least for the Bleeding Edge it has.
Only PS5, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe so. It's only PS5 and at least the Xbox had the PC players as well. So you had a secondary fan base for the game.
I was going to say before that...
I'm super keen and I hope it succeeds, but...
See, I think
history's against it.
I think a lot of problem with Bleeding Edge was Xbox did not promote and support that game well enough to try and make it as big as it could have been. And I would actually say that Sony is usually a lot better at pushing stuff. Maybe not at first if they don't know what they've got.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how stuff that comes out on PS Plus succeeds, but stuff that comes out on Game Pass doesn't succeed.
That's a...
I mean, there is some weird truth for it to a degree. Like, for once, I'll agree with Ash's Game Pass shitting. There's definitely some truth to that and interest to be.
Sure, you can play it, but People.
Well,
don't.
I think the big difference is that PlayStation Plus is 3-4 games a month.
PlayStation Plus isn't equal to Game Pass.
No, and that's what I'm saying. That's probably the reason why.
You would have to compare PS Now to Game Pass.
Yeah, but I guess that's the difference. Like, so if we're comparing Bleeding Edge launching on Game Pass and people going, okay, it's a Game Pass game, you should try it, and you compare that to PlayStation going, well, Destruction All-Stars is going to launch and it's launching as part of PlayStation Plus, more people are probably going to play it because more people only have that one library to look at and go, what do I get this month? Destruction All-Stars, cool. New PS5 game, I'll give it a go. Yeah, whereas Game Pass, they're like, here's a new game, The Medium, fucking Bleeding Edge, whatever. A lot of the time people go, maybe they don't even realize that it's a brand new Xbox
don't even
game.
Realize.
Or
how many people played Will of Stars here?
I think a decent amount, I would say. But
18 million?
Possibly. In theory, 18 million people have bought that game, in theory. But when you look at it, it is also a sense of urgency, right? You've only got a month to make sure you download Destruction All-Stars, and in that first month of PS Plus, it'll probably have its highest concurrent player base and its most amount of players. Whereas Game Pass, at least you have players look at the game and go, I can come back to that in a couple months and still be able to play this.
And never do, and then the game dies.
Wow, you're a bit cynical there,
Bleeding Edge. I'm just saying, for a multiplayer game, Game Pass.
Fall Guys is still going really strong, right?
I know it.
Yeah.
It hasn't fell off.
Season 3?
Yeah, it hasn't fell off.
Still so many people playing it. Yeah. Just because it's not the front page of Twitch, alright?
No, but is there actually, like, if we were to look at the concurrent player base users based off...
I don't know, how do I look up?
You can only look up Steam, you can't look up PlayStation. It's not very helpful. Anyway, we'll see how PlayStation All-Stars goes. Destruction All-Stars, even.
Destruction All-Stars.
Yeah. No, bring back PlayStation All-Stars.
Who knows? That would be sweet DLC, I'll tell you what.
Well, the second they
we can talk about that on our
the second they announced their Twisted Metal DLC for Destruction All-Stars, I feel like more people will be playing it. But if you want to hear,
like how they've got the Hot Wheels cars theme for different things.
Yeah, maybe. If you want to hear some more Destruction All-Stars news, because they did do a state of play earlier this week, listen to next week's episode. Well, 2 days in time when this is releases episode of Platinum Explosion out on Wednesday. We will be discussing a lot of Destruction All-Stars there, of course, because there was a lot of news to break down. All right. Kotaku writes, Borderlands movie outdoes itself, cast Kevin Hart as Roland. Jumanji starring comedian Kevin Hart has been signed to play Roland in an upcoming Borderlands movie, according to the Hollywood Reporter. Yeah, I don't get it either, writes Ian Walker. Borderlands has been directed by horror maestro Eli Roth, based on a screenplay by Chernobyl creator Craig Mazin. Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford and Take-Two Interactive CEO Strauss Zelnick are serving as executive producers. Quote, I'm thrilled to be working with Kevin, Roth said in a statement to the Hollywood Reporter. Borderlands is a different kind of role for him, and we're excited to thrill audience with a side of Kevin they've never seen before. He's going to be an amazing Roland. Hart is the second actor to join Borderlands cast after Cate Blanchett, who will be playing Siren Firestarter Lilith, despite my colleague Luke Plunkett's pleas to the contrary.
Wow, it's really weird that they're going to make Roland a fully CGI character.
Well, look, there's a couple issues here, right? Roland is the straight man of the bunch, right? Roland is the kind of more serious character out of the original Borderlands.
That's what Eli Roth is saying. You're going to see a different side of Kevin Hart. Serious side.
Serious side.
But also...
No jokes. Tall.
Also, no jokes. Stilts. But that's the thing, right? No jokes. It's like, okay, if there's going to be no jokes, he's going to be serious. Why the fuck are you casting Kevin Hart? and
wow. You saying Roland, Kevin Hart doesn't have range?
Yes, I am saying that. He can't reach her.
He's got no reach. Yeah.
That's the thing. Roland is also a commando that is quite an imposing figure in terms of...
You say commandos can't be short?
No, I don't think they normally are.
Shout out to all the short commandos out there.
It's
your
just
boy
so
Ringo.
Bad. It's just such a bad casting.
This movie's fucking great. I can't wait for this movie. Between Cate Blanchett's the first cast, and everyone's like, Eli Roth's directing a Borderlands movie with Cate Blanchett in it. What the fuck's going on? And then they're like, here, have Kevin Hart as Roland, the serious guy. Sure. Like at this stage, you know who they'll cast next? They'll cast fucking Christian Stewart as fucking what's the little crazy
Tiny Tina.
Yeah, Tiny Tina. Yeah, there you
go. Yeah, they'll have Denzel Washington as a Claptrap.
Yeah, fuck it. Keep going. Do you need to? It's fucking. I know where this movie's going.
It's fucking, Randy Pitchford's gonna watch this movie and then go over to fucking Eli Roth and be like, "You really fucked me on this one." Like, it's just
why you'd fuck me on this, I don't know.
I can't wait. I'm gonna try to memorize the perfect tweet of just when the movie eventually comes out and the box office numbers come and they're not that great. I can just do a tweet of Randy Pitchford just why you guys would fuck me on this is beyond me. You should have supported the movie.
Oh, we should have. What do you reckon? Right? Do you reckon this is what happened? The casting directors watched the movie, watched Jumanji, and they were like, "Get me the bald guy. Get me the fucking bald guy to play Roland for me." And the casting director's assistant has missed The Rock entirely from that movie and has seen Kevin Hart and be like, "That must be the bald guy they want," and they went and got the wrong person.
I mean,
because The Rock
hair. Does he?
It's barely any. He's reasonably balding. It's very short.
It's just short.
Oh no!
In this the photo in the article, it's got a fair bit of hair.
Well, that makes the casting director's assistant even fucking worse at their job because they got Kevin Hart instead of The Rock.
Just said the black guy.
Yeah, that would have.
Well,
yeah,
that would have.
Gone down.
That would have been understandable then.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm far too white to say that.
Moving on. IGN writes, a Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic game is reportedly in development without EA and BioWare. As reported by VGC, the latest rumor comes courtesy of credited Star Wars insider Bespin Bulletin, who spoke on a recent BOP the podcast episode about the project that's said to be in development outside of EA and that will never guess who the studio is that's making the game. Quote, amongst my digging, I heard that there is a Knights of the Old Republic project development somewhere, Bespin Bulletin said. I talked to a couple of people and I also found out that Jason Schreier said that's not with EA and will never guess who the studio is that's making this game. Bloomberg's Jason Schreier has...
Naughty Dog.
Bloomberg's Jason Schreier has previously spoken of a potential KOTOR project both on Reset Era and Twitter, and his words echo Bespin Bulletin's comments. Furthermore, Wushu Studios' Nate Naja also took to Reset Era in response to this to say, quote, it's not as mysterious as you think. It's just not a household name most people are aware of. There have been previous rumors of a Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake being in the works at EA, and that would take elements of the first KOTOR and Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Sith Lords, and retool the two stories to make them fit into current canon. It's unclear whether this is the discussed project that has since been taken away from EA or it's an entirely new story. LucasFilm has also said that it's working on something Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic related, and a report following those comments mentioned it could be a planned movie. I think we've talked about KOTOR before to some degree, maybe at some point last year. My feelings are still this. I know everyone's gamers are begging for a remake of the game or whatever the game to be brought into current canon. I do at this stage still believe that making a Knights of the Old Republic game is a bad decision. I understand it would please a group of Star Wars fans, a group of the internet that's always begging for this. They don't make good Star Wars games anymore. Make the KOTOR game. I still think that KOTOR or the Old Republic era, which would be much better set up as a movie or even a Disney Plus series before they touch it with a game. And then on that point, I'll also say that if they're making it into a game, it's never going to be what everyone wants it to be because it won't have full RPG freedom that everyone wants it to have anymore. Because if they're going to make a KOTOR game, the single player experience and all that sort of stuff is probably going to be a lot more finely tuned because they'll want to, if that's the way they're introducing Old Republic into the new canon, they'll want to make sure they're setting everything up the way they want it so they can play around in that toolbox in the future. You know what I mean?
It's pretty clear who's doing it. Square Enix.
Well, yeah.
Well, okay.
Sure.
It's Knights of the Old Republic.
It's fucking
remake.
Platinum Games because they just keep fucking me on Bayonetta 3.
But the thing is, right, the original Knights of the Old Republic was lightning in a bottle. Was the fact that the fact that the Revan storyline and everything about that character that played out in that game was so fucking kind of such a new thing to happen in video games and a lot of storytelling. It's not going to that hype is never going to get recreated again.
You can't recapture that twist.
Yeah, exactly. You can never recapture that again because everybody is now expecting something like that to happen in a Knights of the Old Republic game. Like it's just not going to happen again. Like that twist is legendary. That twist was a fucking narrative masterpiece. But at the same time, you're not going to be able to push that for that to be happening again in another installment. You're much better off stepping away from that name and working on another kind of piece of the puzzle for the Star Wars kind of crown.
I feel like Revan is the character that whenever people are like, I want KOTOR back, really everyone just wants Revan, which
you want to redo the Revan storyline, which is like, yeah, it's just
which they could do and like just make it more of a focused storyline around him. Which, by the way, Revan has already been. I can't remember where exactly it was now, but Revan has been mentioned in current canon at least once or twice.
There like a ship named after him?
I don't remember the ship, but there was like a hologram or something like that with him at some stage in like a comic or something like that. So
he was like one of the in the crowd in Rise of Skywalker watching on.
Oh yeah, he just had a name badge said, "Hi, my name is Revan."
Hi, my name is Revan. Yeah,
yeah, makes sense.
Disgusting. So yeah, I don't know. Like I this game is just. I don't have the major love because I didn't play it until I don't know, like years and years. Anyway, years and years after its hype. So I've never had much particular love for it. I understand story wise why people get excited about it and whatever. Like it does have a cool twist and all that sort of stuff, but I think people's attachment to this game as being like, this is how you fix Star Wars games. Because we don't like Battlefront, Jedi Fallen Order was okay. Like everyone goes, here's how you fix Star Wars games. Just bring me back an old piece of shit I liked, which is the same sort of attitude that I kind of hate about the movies. You know, like we don't like these new Star Wars movies. We don't like these new characters. We don't like The Last Jedi's new ideas and storytelling. Bring me back all the old shit I like. You know, like it feels like the same sort of like, just give me the shit. Give me the old shit. Just give me the same regurgitated shit. Again, please.
Just do what you did in episode 7 where you pretty much rehash the same storyline for episode 4 and just do that again.
Yeah, just keep giving me the same stuff. I'm like, cool. My other thing I would say for this though, that I know for a lot of people who, you know, they don't keep up with the books and comics, this wouldn't be an issue. But I just also think from a business standpoint, it would be kind of shitty to announce or release an Old Republic game so shortly after revealing, and we're going through the High Republic at the moment, you know, like
we're diving into there. It's
like, come on, like,
yeah,
like you just announced this brand new period. Like we're gonna spend a lot of time in here over the next couple of years, at least, for the core concept of this story of the High Republic, because we know they've laid out like 3 acts or whatever, like phases, like Marvel to it. That's what's happening. We know that one of those Disney Plus shows, Dark Acolyte. That's going to be set in High Republic era, and that will be at least the first show. So, like, it's not just the books, it's not just the comics. We know there's at least one show coming that's set in that time. It would just be weird for them to be like, and here's the Old Republic again, and people are like, yeah, fuck that High Republic shit. Especially because I can still look in the responses to people like Star Wars account tweeting about High Republic, and there's just all these fuckboys in the comments, like A being racist, B being cunts, and C just straight up being like, fuck this High Republic shit, I want Old Republic, blah, blah, blah. You know, like very much of a High Republic bad, Old Republic good.
But
give me
this is the thing where it's like, where as whoever is steering the ship that is Star Wars, you need to steer the ship and go all in on this High Republic shit. Don't be like half-assing it and being like, well, we're kind of doing High Republic and we're kind of going back to our old ways. Like, we're kind of... No. You open up the average Star Wars fan's mouth and you just start jamming in High Republic. You really, like, cram it in there. Like, just like, down the hatches.
What an image for everyone listening on their bus school trip.
I say make the Old Republic game. I think, especially given last year they released the pod racing game remake.
But I mean, that was just that wasn't even a remake. That was a
Well, really, all you need to do is get like a team like Bluepoint, up-res it, maybe improve the combat system.
Bluepoint's too busy with Bayonetta.
Obviously not. What?
They're too busy working on Bluey.
Bluepoint's
They're too
working
busy
on
on
Bayonetta.
Bluey the Bluepoint
Yeah.
pen. That's my joke he was about
They
to
are.
make.
Oh,
Bluey the
that's the
Bluepoint
joke.
pen. Yes, Dylan, get in there.
Okay, get Toys for Bob to go work on.
Toys for Bob's. Sorry, I heard they're what's that? They're working on Diablo 3 remake. No, I'm
Just it doesn't need to be canon. It could just be a thing.
I think that's a waste of time.
Make both of the games together. But people buy it, so it's not a waste of money.
No, if they want to pay someone to do like a slight one of those, like not like a full remake, but like here's a slight HD remaster and release it on PS5 and PS4 or whatever. Yeah, cool, go for it. Down for that. You want to get a studio like Bluepoint to like do a full on remake or something like that? No, waste of time. Don't need it. Don't want it.
No, you're wrong.
Don't care for it. Look, on this podcast, Ash, I gotta say that I think you're wrong more than most of us.
Actually, I think in the credits of the show, I don't know if you've watched them before. There is the when it's under characters, it says the person who is wrong, and then Ashley Hobley next to it. Like that's your casted character's name or title. You don't even get a full proper name. That's just the person that's wrong.
Okay.
Yikes.
Yeah, we'll find out, maybe. It's probably all a load of bullshit anyway, so
Also true.
Yeah, probably.
Also true. That'll do it for this week's episode of Arcade Couch. You can let us know any questions or comments you have regarding future episodes, news, things we talked about this week. Would you play a Knights of the Old Republic remake? Is Ash mostly wrong or right? You can tell us on Twitters. Head to explosionnetwork.com/Twitter. It'll lead you to a list of all of our Twitters here, including Explosion Network official Twitter. And you can join discussion by heading over to our Discord at explosionnetwork.com/Discord. If you liked this episode, if you thought it was funny, informative, a good old listen/watch, and you thought it might be worth at least $1, you can head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosionnetwork.com/support, where you can give us $1 or more. Would love that. That's great. Wow. Thank you.
It's like much better value than like Game Pass.
Much better value. Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Is it?
Yeah,
though?
I have to agree.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
At least you're actually
Game
listening
Pass.
to the episodes.
I can't undersell our products. I can. I mean, I can't.
Can you oversell them?
No, I can't do that either. I just try and keep it. That's why I say if you thought it was worth $1. Like I'm not like if you thought it was worth $50 or $10 or $3. If you thought it was worth $1. Maybe at least surely like at $0.01 an hour these things surely adds up to at least $1. All right, until next week, same time, same couch. Bye. Hey, don't forget you can subscribe to the show wherever you're currently listening, and you can drop a review if you can. Find more great shows like this and more content over at explosionnetwork.com. And please consider supporting us for as little as $1 over on our Ko-fi page by heading to explosionnetwork.com/support. Thanks for listening.